So those of you in the audience, if you don't mind, make sure you have signed in. And it is 6 o'clock, so I would call this meeting to order. And we always begin by doing the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you have silence from your cell phone, would you please do that? Lisa, can you call the roll?
Sure. Darcy Capper. Here. Jenny Swift. Angela Brown. Here. Jasmine Christopher. Here. Karen Shields. Here. Ray Armstrong. Here. Keith Richard.
Thank you. And I'm going to read the adopted policies because we do have some finance numbers. The policy of the Berlin Township Zoning Commission is that each applicant or agenda item will be given 10 minutes or at the discretion of the chairperson to make a formal presentation. Chair will allow questions from the commission members in order to provide timely and orderly discussion and business for consideration. Finally, audience members will be given up to 3 minutes at the discretion of the chairperson for each speaker to respond. And the chairperson may limit repetitive debate and all comments from the audience. Lisa, can you verify that this meeting was advertised?
August 28th, 2025 in the, on the Township Facebook page.
All right, we have minutes before us from our August 26th meeting. I'd like to accept a motion to approve this meeting minutes, please.
For the BZC meeting minutes from 8/26/25.
Second. Ms. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong? Ms. Brown? Ms. Capper?
Yes. All right, so we do have a special meeting tonight to have our application for BZC 25-001 Precision Auto and Marine application for preliminary and final development, which is filed by Kyle Renninger, 43 Landing West, Westerville, Ohio, 3082. Applicant is submitting the request to amend the zoning from farm residential district to planned commercial district for 1 acre. I will not read that parcel number. 6715 State Route 27, Galena, Ohio 43021. Our applicant would care to address us?
Madam Chair, can I make a very preliminary note for the record, a certain BZC awareness? So I was not at your last meeting, I'm sorry to miss that. But I have been brought up to speed on everything, and I understand that there were some questions about the application at that time, about materials having been received and disseminated, and I understand there was some frustration around that. I wanted to know, predominantly the applicant's awareness, that those were received through inadvertent mistake, were not provided in the way that we usually did. But for the applicants, I just wanted to, our apologies, that was received. I just didn't make it to where it needed to go, but that has been remedied. We would have this discussion here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joe Cleese, Plan for Land. We're starting over, so I'll kind of give you an overview of the application as submitted. Here with Lexus and Kyle. Kyle is the applicant and submitting on behalf of the Precision Auto and Marine, and Lexus from Plan with our office. So I'll give you an overview. We'd like to present a few tweaks since last time too. So it is kind of a fresh application in all sense to make sure that we're addressing the comments that were presented. So this property is 1 acre in size. It actually is got an existing access point at the proposed access location. The idea is to run an auto and marine repair facility. In line with the zoning map, this would be proposed for planned commercial. There are a number of other planned commercial properties in the area. You can see on your zoning map, but across the street and also to the east. We're trying to propose a land use that would be compatible with the surrounding area and put limitations in place. So in line with the recommendations that had come forward, it is kind of a neighborhood commercial type use, but the recommendations that were made by regional planning recognize that. but we do understand the ability to place control on the property through the Pine Commercial District. That's where we started. So there's a number of divergences that are requested. We did minimize that number from the last meeting, and I'd like to go through what we actually modified to adjust and try to accommodate regional planning's recommendations and those informal comments that we might have heard. The proposal is to retain the existing building as an office and slight retail space. The use will, as he gets ability to market products, would market parts for boats. Those parts would then be installed in the facility behind the front office retail space. In line with that, we had 2 retail spaces that we're proposing out front. He's looking at half dozen visitors per day. This won't be a Bass Pro Shop type of outfit. It's a local neighborhood focused. Most of these folks are going to have appointments that are coming in, and the retail area is not a storefront. It's not visible from 36. It's an area inside of the building that's for displaying parts for consumers. The 2 spaces will be outside of the gated entrance. The goal is to gate the lot, both for screening and security. The front side of the gate from the building to the area that's visible off of 36 would all be a wrought iron style fence gate that's more consistent with the character of what you'd see in the area. And then behind that's a privacy fence that would be wood in nature, and it would be more in keeping with the natural facade that's in the backside. The goal is to retain trees, and we did inventory the tree line. So the darker green that you see on here is the existing tree line. There is a lot more green available in the back of the site where it might screen that potential overlay district that you have behind the site. The areas to the south, or to the, I might turn it just because I'm going to get confused on the orientation, but north's up here. So the idea, the eastern boundary, along that eastern boundary, there's existing tree line. Some of those trees are on the property and some of those trees are on the neighboring property, but they kind of start in this area behind, so it'll be about where the proposed buildings come in. As evidenced in the photographs that we provided in the application, the trees on the other side are a lot more extensive, and those would be, the goal would be to try to retain that as a buffer, and if there was any development over there, the orientation of this use would be toward the east, including overhead doors or any type of activity. The only thing that's included on the west side is the dumpster, and that would be a more passive use, weekly service, nothing that's of a major disturbance to the neighboring properties. And we did provide that within the privacy enclosure to make sure it's screened from view from the road. As far as signage, they're looking at for the office, there'd be a small sign on the front of the facility, as well as a monument sign. The monument sign's more to make sure that they can find the driveway location. And then the signage inside is to kind of attract people to the office retail building and make it clear where the entrance is. So with those 2 access points that would be right off the front entrance of the building. We limited the use specifically to the NAICS codes that were called out by regional planning, and then further limited it for the retail to 500 square foot inside of the existing office facility, or the proposed office facility, and then the 6,000 square foot would be the divergence request for the boat repair. That would be only for the rear building, not for the front building. We tried to provide some boats for a sense of scale, pontoon boat and a traditional fishing boat. Those would be reflective of the size and the character of what would be proposed. They wouldn't typically be stored outdoors, but I put them there with the idea that if somebody did drop off a boat, there'd be a opportunity to hook on, and it does not interfere. This is the southern door. It does not interfere with the fire department's ability to get in and out of the property. So we wanted to make sure of that. I'll kind of walk you through the other exhibits. I tried to move the podium back so everybody can see, but landscaping, to try to address the comments from the last meeting and those of regional planning. The increase on the front was to accommodate the required green belt and provide evergreen trees that would be evenly spaced. Those would expand to fill in about 50% screening on the front of the facility, for which most driving by, it's going to screen view entirely. They might get a small glance of the storage lot here, or in the storage lot with the parking here, but they're not necessarily going to get to see anything substantial down the road. And then from the other side, it's fully screened, and we did try to provide it from the initial application, substantial screening at the entrance just to make sure that the aesthetics of the entrance of the building aren't just a blank facade as you see out there now, to try to make it look a little bit more appealing. The gate would be located here, and that would provide for access, but it also provides a storage area here for a truck and trailer if they're coming in, that they wouldn't conflict with the retail parking out front. There'd be circulation on site for people to turn around, and then they would be able to exit the site in a forward manner. Don't think I have anything else on that one. Do the next one. This is the existing survey. Main reason we provided that is the topography that was pre-existing on this site did go through the site. The site's been since filled, substantially altered since the LiDAR was flown. It was 20, 30 years ago. This site currently has a more defined ravine toward the rear of the site, and we try to reflect that on the grading plan, which I don't think we have a big copy of, but it's in your packet. So the grading plan would indicate a little bit more about the area and the topography that's being preserved at the rear of the site. A lot of that up front was filled before client took interest in the property. So we're here to answer any questions in regards to the plans for topography, but what's pre-existing, we tried to inventory there. And then my thought was drainage has got two paths. One would go behind the building and pass in this direction. The other one's actually up front. So you'll see two blue lines that are indicated on that plan that will give you a better idea of how this goes. We did take into consideration so one was the divergence for the use was specifically identified and further limited to the 500 square foot retail, and then also to make sure that the divergence request for boat repair is limited to the 6,000 square foot building at the rear. Additionally, the 15-foot green belt on the south side was accommodated, and that actually reduced two divergences that we previously had. Just if you're comparing notes from the ones that were there before. So we added one, but removed two, trying to make sure that that's accommodated a little bit better. The section references were updated. We had one number off. I just tried to correct that just to make sure we got a clean copy of things for you to review tonight. Lighting details were updated to ensure, I think there was some concern that there were spotlights at the rear of the building. Those would be shielded floodlights that would be mainly for security in that sidewalk area. And that sidewalk is mainly to allow access to the dumpster from the repair shop. So there's a walkway behind the building, but being behind the office, you might have picnic tables or utilize that for break space. So it's out of sight and out of mind from those that are visiting. So it might be employee break area as well. The details in attachment 3 were updated to include the utility feasibility letters that were referenced that might have came in and been delivered to you at the last meeting. We wanted to make sure you were aware of those. We have worked with the fire department and ODOT to understand next steps and are prepared to take both those. But we, obviously being a rezoning, we want to make sure that you're willing to accommodate the use before we proceed with those two. And then development plan was updated to reflect the boundaries of the existing woodland. As I mentioned, I put a little artistic character to it, but I walked that and GPSed it. So the boundary is the tree canopy, and that's what I tried to map for you, so you get a pretty good idea of what's being preserved. And then the grading plan as indicated, I think that's actually sheet 6. Sheet 6 was updated to reflect existing drainage and also to help indicate the steep slopes that aren't quite as steep as they were on the 1990 survey, the original survey from the lot split. And I think that's what raised concern in the regional planning, was that and the white imagery that was flown, but those are not accurate. Additionally, the 20 to 25, I actually put 25 to 30 foot boats on there just to give an idea, to make sure that there's ample area for circulation. The idea would be somebody can drop off a boat, leave it, and then he can park it appropriately to where it needs to be for service, and it can be prepped and ready for pickup when they're scheduled appointments for pickup. And then the additional landscaping we already talked about, but the idea that I understood from our landscaping at the front was kind of isolated in one location. Our goal was to preserve trees. This is one area where we can supplement that tree line. And the evergreens are more upright evergreens that would expand at 8-foot width and blend in pretty well with the wrought iron fence that's being provided. So I have lots I can talk about, but that's pretty much what I wanted to give as an overview. I understand we wanted to obviously accommodate public comment, see if there's anything that we can do to answer any questions that you guys may have. Thank you.
Any commission members want to start with questions or comments? He's doing it, okay.
That's something that the township residents work pretty hard for setting up what we want to put both in the business plan, and BCD and PIP. We got what we want to put, which is basically an industrial use that you're putting. And I have great problems with putting that in the spot zone by dropping it in. Other comments, since they have filled and continue to fill, as far as what about the streams that are those culverts, what are they?
As far as
So
it's been there.
per Delaware County, soil and water, the only thing that they requested was to not, disrupt the natural flow of water. So the remaining so the water that was dumped on our property is still flowing through our property. On both sides, we created 2 ravines, one on each side of the property that still allows water to flow down the natural ravine.
And so if you reflect the actual channel was in here.
Yes.
That channel is still handling water. It's just a slighter slope to get it to the rear of the site. So it's not.
Obviously, you must move. Is it to the east side or where did you
Yeah, so that drainage flow is still going through the center of the property from what I observed on site. It's actually in the parking area. They're handling water. They're just sending it toward the north side of the property.
in a ditch, golf or what?
It starts there. It's not water coming from off site. So this water is getting, if you can read the grading plan on page 6, it kind of shows that it's starting in that location. So it's actually ridged and rounded, but it's catching that water and it's directing it where that blue line's going. That's the current path of water flow. It's surface flow. It's not a channelized waterway. It's just the surface lots draining toward the back of the site.
So if you go to page 20 for Delaware County soil water, it says maintain or relocate soils. So we relocate. And that was further restriction. So
Are you doing soil tests? Is that higher?
yes, we do that. Yes.
Did they mandate that? See if there's something to say.
No, it was not specific.
Pole barn, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the pole barns, it's not typical that it would require a foundation.
You still got properly detected floor.
No, it'll be 6-inch concrete with 3/4-inch rebar.
Right.
So,
That's still quite low.
and we talked with a engineer about that. He recommended 3/4-inch rebar, 12 inches on center, to maintain a consistent load across the area. The fill was compacted every foot, and we have 3 compaction tests. One at the very bottom, one midway, and one half.
You still are asking a lot of purchases. By our setbacks. So you're screening the trees and stuff. Unless I'm misreading it, but you're screening the trees and stuff.
Correct. So it's shared between the property lines on both the east and the west side. The north side is a substantial amount that's retained on site.
What's going to be
Yeah, so it could be supplemented. The challenge is right now, without removal of those trees, getting things planted in that area, it's not, so I mean, if it could be a development plan commitment to plant if it's ever removed next door, that might make sense. But that's part of why the privacy fence picks up here, is it provides full screening. 8-foot fence would provide full screening for that area, at least for the use that's there. But the commitment would be to preserve the green space here. There are no trees currently in this location. There are some that are on this side, and I tried to reflect in the tree canopy, but some of those are smaller trees that are along that property line that will grow up. He can't have the trees impacting the building with the way it's planted. So I think that tree canopy will establish itself back over the buildings after.
There's actually some site photographs, if you go to page 41 through 44. Well, the last page, 42.
Correct. Yeah, so, and I'm not sure the extent of these over here, but I do know that the tree canopy is going to continue to reinforce there. There was some tree removal in this area, and that's why the current canopy lines pulled back. So a lot of those, if you look at the picture, they're actually smaller trees along the property line. And they could be supplemented, not, again, saying there's existing tree line there, so I didn't throw any trees on there, but if the thought is something like this needed to be extended, that's part of what we could discuss. But we didn't want to hinder the existing tree line and its opportunity to reestablish.
So my first question came with the, I didn't see the permit call out report from the U.S. Army Engineers. Do you guys have that at this point?
So I'm not sure the nature of why they're asking for it, but it's not typical of a project like this for us. We did, from a designated wetland standpoint, we would typically have to ensure we're not impacting wetlands in those. But it's not something, because it's under an acre of disturbance, it's not typical of something that would go through the
A
Army.
lot of times, the reason why they ask for that is because where the water flow is, should that water get water instead of being, so that's why.
We're happy to secure it if it's a condition of approval. I'm not sure that we may have to look for some guidance on what exactly the fire department's looking for that.
Yeah, so is there should be a report from the US Army Engineer just on the actual parcel and what it is taking up that.
We'd be happy to see that.
There's not a lot that I really have questions on with this. I don't love that it's an industrial use, but on the other hand, I understand that it really made some votes. And so it's not like, I think that's also an industrial use, but I think that it's more commercial use. It's kind of like on the street, how Oxford is right there now. And also I do like that it's going to be nicer than it is, so you're keeping part of it, you're making it look nicer. One of the questions I had was, you have a substantial amount of pavement. Obviously, right now, it's all crushed down. So, is there, and I didn't mark that page, impervious surfaces. And obviously, there's going to be a lot that's not now paved that construction. So is there any potential that there need to be as much pavement? I understand the fire department to do that, but is there any way that ashes crushed it, yeah, so that way it actually sinks to the ground, it's not creating as much opportunities. The way that you've done it, and again, it's going to look nicer than what's there now, which is all over the place. What I want to make sure is that we're not creating more of a runoff issue, and we already have a lot of attention. So, is there a way to go back the pavement from the
within the fenced-in area, I think it would make sense to maybe designate that separate from the outside. If it makes sense to keep pavement outside of it from an aesthetic cleanliness, and then
And then
inside of that.
inside, oh, that would be amazing.
We would keep it all crushed,
Yeah.
except for maybe like a 20-foot apron just on the front of the building.
Exactly. That would be amazing, because then, yes, groundwater has somewhere to settle, right? It's not just trying to pass. Can you talk a little bit about the diversions in the sidewalks? So I would like everyone to hear from you.
Yep.
Why you have the diversions in there.
Sure.
And the purpose.
So I think one of these exhibits actually demonstrates the setback line. Right around here to show you better. And let me turn that as well. Actually, yeah, this is the one. So the setback line as 100 feet is from any property that's residential or has a residence on it. That's all inclusive of any property around. It's all farm residential, but it's not intended to be farm residential for the long haul. So the divergence request is simply from the western line for the building. And that's to ensure that go closer to, and we did stipulate an 18-foot setback there. But part of the divergence request is so we can have a single loaded building, so it's only got doors on the eastern side. So the divergence request is to minimize the impact on the neighboring properties. Otherwise, if we place the building in the middle, it would almost make sense to have boats go through the building or any type of use. And I say that with the idea that development of this property is a little constrained. An acre's a small site in general. Something like this is a lot better suited when it's single loaded. So the divergence request is to do that, but it's also that to ensure that that is screened for neighboring use in the future. The other setback we actually removed was parking. It was my understanding it was 25 feet, and I had previously listed a 25-foot, thinking that the edge of this needed to actually be a divergence. But we indicated a 6-foot setback so that we could preserve some of the existing tree line around the perimeter of the property and allow that to canopy over the parking lot in the future. So the goal would be these trees here indicated at planting size. Those would expand as well. They would expand through the fence or over the fence. And in this case, it's a perforated fence, so they could actually extend through the fence and provide additional screening. The canopy provide shading for the gravel lot or the lot in the future as well. So the thought process is to help that grow back in the future. And I don't think his interest is to mow and maintain that. So the main goal would be for it to come back, if I understood the goals and the intents. But those two divergences, so we actually eliminated the parking one, but the one on this side was mainly because that 100-foot was very impactful, and the 16-foot, or actually it wasn't 100-foot, I take it back. It was based on the width of the building and the distance, but the 18-foot seemed more appropriate in that location. And it does blend in with the edge of the existing office. We continued that edge, which would be more natural, and it would tuck the building in behind the existing office. And I realize it isn't pretty now as much as what he's planned for that place. So the goal would be for that to be the aesthetic thing that people see off the road. And he did try to make sure the height of the building wasn't overpowering for the existing office building to make sure it's going to be visible, that there's another building there, but it's not something that dominates the existing office.
Really, I think point.
Yep.
Can you, so you talked about the green line, can you just explain the privacy fence?
Yep.
Exactly, actually show
Sure. Yeah, so the privacy fence starts here at the bend, and on the survey, you see there's a clear corner pin there. The goal is to accent the existing tree line with the privacy fence, but it would extend back this property line, and then at the rear, it will cut across from one side to the other. They'll have to provide for drainage. So my assumption is, I haven't talked to you about the actual way you're going to handle that, because that'll be part of the engineering design. But my guess is you'll probably catch basin water, and then that way it's held and then directed underneath the fence. But from a security standpoint, that would run across the back in front of the back tree line, and then it runs down to the dumpster enclosure and ties into the office. So the initial wrought iron fence out front will help to finish the security fencing. But from a privacy standpoint, it's from the office facade back, all of that would be.
So are you saying that there's going to also be the privacy fence?
No, That's the wrought iron fence.
Yes.
We did try to itemize in the text, we put more detail, and then I tried to export a really pretty rendering, but it was taking long. I wanted to make sure you guys got a packet, so we didn't provide the rendering, but the rendering actually would show that fence is more architectural, something that's more fitting for what you guys would expect off.
I think where I got a little confused is when we said that there would be privacy boundary that protecting this ground behind, but it literally just.
It's a horseshoe.
Okay, and then the dumpster is behind the privacy fence.
It is. It's
How will
a,
the dumpster be accessed?
it's got gates on the front, so up this side, it's currently located there, so it's actually just gating that so that it's a secured access point.
Okay,
That way, people aren't stopping and dumping stuff as well, but it also won't be visible from the road. And there is a area that they can pull up beside the building that it's not plainly visible, so it's currently recessed back.
all right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would like to talk about the divergence for the side yard on the eastern side,
Yes.
because 6 feet is not much. And it looks like if the fence placement is what I'm reading, it would be 3 feet in the property line, leaving a 3-foot border for the pavement edge.
Yeah, I centered it up just with the idea that it wouldn't be at the edge of the pavement, because you wouldn't want anything to hit the fence. But yeah, I could center it up in that easement area, just for the purpose of making sure you had setback on both sides, maintenance ability on both sides as well.
So it's not possible though to eliminate that divergence. There's a lot of room there, and the turning points look pretty spacious. And seeing now that you've got your kind of right-sized models on there,
So
really not
the
eliminate that.
The divergence request shall equal a third of the sum in the height of the structure. That we accomplish. Those are actually from the divergence is not for the. I'm sorry, it said no parking is located within 25 feet, but I'm not sure that that is a divergence to allow pavement to be within 6 feet. Yes, the only divergence being sought for the building. That's this area.
Building room. I was reading that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just not much space. So. And I didn't love it.
Yeah. So part of it.
And that would
This-
increase the impervious pavement area also.
This circulation area is probably where the most waste would occur, but that is to accommodate the 3-point turn at a 50-foot radius, which is, in my mind, very substantial, by the way. I think your fire department requires half of that, but your zoning code stipulates a 50-foot radius, so that's why it's indicated the way it is. But I did want to be able to accommodate that, so that's why we're into that front area a little bit more. But the other thing is that actually allows for the fence to stay straight across the front to keep the aesthetic of the roadside. So, and the fence is set back at 15 foot, so it's to get it outside of the easements and the areas that would be up front as well. And I, not to be naive to your comment, I understand what you're saying. We did, a lot of this area is not grass now. And we did discuss areas where we could try to retain grass. From a maintenance standpoint, inside of the fence, it's not really adding any aesthetics to the outside area. The main area where you would see it is if you were sitting stopped across the road, and there's really not a lot of opportunity for that. Most people are traveling by, so not really going to see in there.
Okay. You drift lighting, but I was looking at the specimens that you provided, and they really don't look like downlights. So we've already kind of addressed that, but
Sure.
I just kind of wanted to put that in.
Yes.
Because, that's not what I said.
There's two fixtures that we tried to include, and we did, the sign's able to be mounted as a downlight on the sign. The area behind would be, it's currently not downlighting, but it would be modified to be downlighting. You find the page stuff on explain this. The halo can lights are actually recessed in them, and those would be downlight. Those would be in the soffit, so those would naturally be downlight. That is the lighting proposed. That's 80–90% of the lighting on site. The other fixture that's included, this halo, it can actually be adjusted and down, and there's actually a shield that can be installed on it. So we made a commitment that it would be shielded as well to make sure that it didn't allow light to penetrate.
On page 37, it actually shows a diagram of like raising it down.
Gotcha. I was looking at 38. I mean, it's pointing out.
Yeah.
Would any of these be on poles, like lighting the parking lot or anything? These are all on the building?
These were all building mounted that are hand posts.
Honestly, that's one of the questions I have.
Well, got to actually speak last time, so. But having said that, I noticed you did rework your landscaping plan to add some more to it. Also the detail you added from the comments that we had around kind of trying to get us a better scale of things. I do appreciate kind of the green space to the back, obviously is the slope of the property. So you're gonna try and maintain that. Gives you, I don't know, we've talked, there's a lot of impervious, but it's gonna give you probably where the water wants to go. You don't really have that impervious structure, so that's gonna help, I think, as far as once the water gets there, not pooling and things of that nature. As far as your divergences, the tract one, I don't see as an issue because you're 1 acre, like most of the things we have. Oh, well, it says 10 acres, like you can't make it 9 more. So you're kind of stuck. The side yard and rear yard, and we talked about the divergences. I think it also does kind of mention that within our plan, it has the dimensions, but then also says where is approved per plan. So if the plan, and we approve the plan, then it kind of falls in line that to a certain degree in my mind, that's not really a divergence anymore. It's approved plan. So, because it gives that third option. So I think those, it is close on your west side, on your east side, you've got a fence, but I don't really think we consider that part because it's really more the building encroachment. But I understand why you're doing it to the west because you're using your front building to shield the back building. So you're not going to have the full width of building everywhere on the lot. So I'm okay with that one. The use, I still think is a tricky one because it is a commercial zoning. And when we start to talk about the next NAICS codes, you do have some retail in the front, but you also are doing repair, which is kind of more of an industrial use. So it is a struggle, I think, from that perspective. I also look at what else is in there. We've got some things around automotive dealers, tire dealers. Yes, they have commercial uses, but I have yet to find many car retailers that don't have a service department. Tire dealers, they put them on and they do oil changes and other things. So there is kind of a gray area, I think, when you get into some of those NAICS codes because of that. What are you and what are your primary or your secondary uses? Obviously, I think your primary really is probably more the repair. But I know you also mentioned that in the last meeting, you were looking at not only repair, but you had talked about, you have some retail, but you're also looking at retail of engines. Is that still the case, or was that something you were just thinking about?
I mean, it's something in the future to think about,
Okay, but not at the
but,
moment.
yeah,
Okay,
no.
okay. So I just wanted to ask the question again, that's fine. So the other items that brought up, definitely for more detail, and I had not caught up on the wrought iron fencing to the front. So I appreciate that explanation because it definitely changes the thought process around what that front fence looks like. The rest of it, I honestly don't really have a lot of issue. Folks have brought up most of the other things. I think really the only kind of the hurdle I think is the youth discussion. So
I'd be happy to talk a little bit more about that. But maybe,
yeah,
sure.
So I didn't speak last time either. Definitely, a need for more marine in the area, right next topic. So, definitely think it's a good use of the land. Again, still the NAICS codes. And I found, code 811, or 811111, general automotive repairs in NAICS codes. I would assume this falls under that category as well. But that's also not allowed in BZD. So there's a huge hurdle with that one. Your fencing, wrought iron fencing on the front, is that the same height as the privacy fence, and how tall will that be?
If you can specify that it's 6 foot. 6 foot for the front fence. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, 6 foot on the front, 8 foot privacy in the back. I just want to make sure, and I should be specified, I'll find a page here that actually,
Just because, I know that in some previous development plans, we talked about security. So if a boat is parked out there, a lot of storage facilities, especially being on 36, 37, somebody come in and do something that, they shouldn't. So just making sure that that's secure.
I have one more question. I think we sort of came up last time. Your front, obviously 36, 37 is getting redone. And you had talked last time that it's just more for clarification. Were you still planning to put the landscaping in now, or was it going to be waiting because you didn't want the road crews to come through and basically take the landscaping?
So everything on our property, we will do.
Okay.
So, I don't think they're really.
The right of way, you obviously won't be there.
Yeah. So no, landscaping immediately.
No, you good. And I was gonna piggyback off it was the Mercury, when you had Mercury certification, you had the ability, was it to sell engines or sell boats?
So it's to sell engines.
Okay, yeah, just wanted to clarify that. And then I had the east side, like if that property were to take down those trees, does it change into something else? There would potentially be no tree line or landscaping on that side. And that's what you said about putting it in the text that you would replace.
if there's a commitment that needs to be made there, I think the properties adjacent to it, this is currently not a residential property, but there's probably no controls in place to say that will be there today. The privacy fence is more to provide the screening, but if there's something that needs to be supplemented, he'll probably want to screen that as well if the township were to approve them removing stuff in the future. But those trees are pretty established, and there is a ridge line that's there. To clear that ridge line out would probably change the topography of the area more drastic than what's been done here. If you can see on the existing grading plan, this is essentially currently a bowl, and this is filled up. So I don't foresee the east side getting regraded and trees removed there, because it wouldn't benefit that property owner, because they would start taking water that they're not taking right now, or potentially changing doing what soil and water told them not to do. They would be changing the drainage pattern.
I guess my biggest concern is the size of boats. I'm an avid boater. Our boat is a smaller in scale of a wake boat, which is 22.5 feet plus the trailer. So I think you're to say that it's going to stay in the minimum of 20 to 25 feet is, pontoons are at 26, most likely or bigger. Even the boat that's there now, I'm assuming is a lot bigger than 25 feet.
It's 25 and a half. It's a 2x5.
So I think, just boat and trailer, keeping that in mind. I appreciate the scale of it on there, but I know that some of these boats that I'm seeing on Alum Creek are incredibly large, and we're getting the big fishing boats from, Lake Erie size, and they're on Alum. So I don't know, if you only service a certain type of boat or size of boat, but I feel like the size wise is a little.
Absolutely. No, most of our focus is on family boats. So which does range between that 18 and 22 to 25 foot range.
Okay.
So, we do see it in some pontoon boats, but a lot of those are outboard services that just come and go. So.
And then do you currently have a company somewhere?
Yes.
And then as far as the auto is concerned, what percentage of it is auto versus?
So right now it's 60% auto, 70% auto, 30% boats.
Okay.
So I've had an auto shop for 7 years now. So a lot of my stuff is automotive, and we're just getting into boats.
Okay.
So. Very cool.
Most of the stuff that I was concerned about was addressed. And the rest was addressed by everybody else. Only question, and this might be more for our board zoning, is this, if it's in PCD, is the pole barn considered an accessory structure? Because there's height limits in 24, 24. Maximum height shall not exceed 22 feet on a parcel under 3 acres in size.
So my analysis on accessory structures is that the accessory structure dichotomy is very clear when you're talking about residential, right? Primary and everything else, right? Place for your boat live, a place for your kids playing pool, place for your car fit, right? Clearly secondary to the house. It's less clear in general from what you're thinking, right? Accessory, less principal, maybe you have to go into what like that sheets, like how much money did you make doing this part of your business? Not to say that it's not still important, but on a commercial property, you clearly have multiple where you wouldn't have that same situation on a residential. So
Recently, we had a couple where they call it an accessory building, but because accessory says people are allowed in it, it's not people's opinions. So I would consider this more of a garage than an accessory building, so that you could have the people on.
So on the long end, the long version of the short answer is I'm flexible. I don't know if the applicant has a sense of, do they feel more like they're all physical structures or?
I just wanted to make a double check and make sure, because I was reading.
Only comment I was going to share, Mr. Armstrong, I appreciate your comment too about the industrial, and I tried to hit on that a little bit up front. I take a lot of care in what land uses are, and I grew up in Bradford, Ohio. They had a head start marine. It's a home occupation for all intents and purposes, and it's ugly. What he's proposing is not that. He's not looking to propose to store a substantial amount of boats outside. That would hinder his business here. He wants a fluid operation, and what he's proposing is pretty small scale. But the bigger thing that I would mention, we do work in a number of jurisdictions, and typically something like this, I would see as a home occupation request of this scale before I would see it in the scale that you're proposed. There is no residence. We're obviously proposing commercial, and the size of the structure is reflective of more of a commercial activity. But 3 bays, they're in a lot of our rural townships, and I would like to think that Portland Township is still rural character to some extent. I think something like this, you would see at least somebody propose 1 or 2 bays in their garage, and it would be very limited impact even with residences around it. So I do see it as more of a neighborhood commercial type use, only because he's proposing entirely indoor activity. It's screened, and it's something that fits the vision of this from the road. Is going to be a boat shop, but it's going to be with the idea that somebody could schedule an appointment to have to go. And I think in most cases, he's going to get appointments. The boat's going to be there for a week, I would assume, average. They're not come and go activity, and that's why there's such a small traffic generations proposed with this. So I hope that you find it fits in with the character of the neighborhood as it builds out. I don't know what's proposed around it in the future, but I do think that this type of use would be fitting for 36. And I'm very sensitive to the industrial idea, but I do think, if there's mandates that we could put in the development text, like the doors must remain shut during operation of equipment or something like that, just to make sure there's no noise penetration, stuff like that would make sense. He wants to be a good neighbor. I didn't want to present you a 300-page text for what we're doing today. I do think the spirit and intent here is to try to keep a high-class neighborhood commercial scale business, and that's why we're proposing what we're proposing. Thank you.
Okay, any more conditions? So we have some audience members. We ask that you please make sure you did sign in our sign-in sheet. And if you do have comments, we would like you to address us with your name and address first. So, any takers? Somebody in the back, go ahead.
Bruce Bachmeyer, 3990 East State Circle, Listener. I've been a resident of Berlin Township for 50 years now. And, Kyle's boat operation, I'm somewhat miffed how you can call it industrial. I mean, I'm picture this. You're going east, you've got a repair center for cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars out there by the street, which is right to the east of him. You've got an RV shop who repairs cars. They classify as industrial, even though they're repairing just RVs. This guy's repairing just cars. Then if you go west, you got a tractor who's got tractors all in front, so repairing tractors. And then you have another RV who's got RVs out and is repairing RVs. And then you have another operation, a large drainage with heavy equipment. So what he's proposing is very, very small. And to be honest with you, we're very blessed with one of the best lakes in the Central Ohio. And a lot of people in Berlin Township have boats. There's only one place here to repair a boat in the vicinity, Paul's Marine. If you want to get a repair of a boat in the summertime, it's 40 to 60 days to get an appointment to get your boat repaired. So it's badly needed by the residents. There's a lot of boaters in Berlin Township. And the other thing, I guess, from a resident standpoint, we have very little commercial property in our township. Most of it's agricultural, most of it's residents. I was hoping that Berlin Township would encourage businesses to relocate in here to get higher property values and higher property taxes. So I'm disappointed that he's having this much problem to get a little tiny shop to repair boats. Okay, so anyway, that's a long time resident here.
Sir, do you want to put those in the record? Do you want to put your documents in the record?
Yeah,
So
sure.
we can have them, and maybe we can pass them on to the board and then put them in the record?
The problem is not with that.
Yeah, you guys will get those in.
Do you have comments?
Dr. Gillis, lived in Genoa Township for 31 years. Had,
Sir, do you mind, I'm sorry, to interrupt you. Do you mind giving your address?
currently master the states, but back in the day, I was kind of hesitant, been through LA and showcase, kept knocking, and they wanted my 30 acres, and I said, this is my home, I don't want to change anything. I had a big 14-car up, boats and cars and everything up there every night after. The big thing I'm getting at is I was real hesitant. I have 111 neighbors now. I like most of them. There's $90 million worth of houses. We put over 500 kids through Orange. That wouldn't have been there. It would have just still been my cornfield and 3 ponds. The big thing, like you were talking with the tax basis, this is a shop. I have 7 boats. We call Paul's. I've had a boat there for a year and they haven't touched. But he's a good kid. And I know him well. He's not going to throw antifreeze out into the concrete, let it drain it down, breathe or anything. But yeah, I just don't get it. He's just beating his brains and trying to get this thing going with 1 acre. It's ridiculous in my opinion. That's my consensus.
Sir, did you sign in on the?
Yes, I did.
Okay, just so I get your name. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Other audience members have things? Yes, sir.
Cross Monterano, 1347 Franklin Street, Lewis. I've known Kyle for a couple of years. He has worked on my cars in the past. He's a fantastic mechanic. I really admire his integrity and work in serving this thing's work. He's the only person also. So I think it's really important that we give citizens in our communities the opportunities to go to good business owners and honest people. He's also helping with some home renovations and in points where I said, no, we're not going to go this far. He said, no, we need to go this far because your home needs to look good. He goes the extra mile to take care of his things. And I know he can help. I'll give you an awesome opportunity. Township and everyone out there.
Any other comments? So our applicant, I'm asking if you would like us to vote on your presentation on your application.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, if there's conditions we can address prior to the trustee hearing, we're welcome to do so. But I understand screening was probably the biggest comment that we had. If there's suggestions that you would like to make with the motion, you definitely welcome to be addressed.
Can I ask, I'm sorry, I just thought that 4 seconds earlier. Can I ask one question or just kind of get that on the record about the use? Yes, go ahead, please. Did you look at, I'm not interested in kicking this back up. I'm sure the answer to this question is yes. Did you look at the other zoning districts that regional planning mentioned, planned industrial? Again, I was here when we were talking through, we had the informal comments. I mean, you guys know that that's not here.
Yeah.
We don't hold ourselves like, we're gonna give you the exact. You know that. I'm curious if, in looking at the zoning districts, you evaluated that this really was the path of fewest divergences, closest to the spirit and intent, and closest to the surrounding. Can you speak on that just a little bit?
100%, yeah. So the planned commercial, in my mind, it's the character. If you look at the map, there's more red there than there is anything else. The uses that front on 36 are probably more desired for that. I understand there's larger overlay district that would incorporate other uses. We're just not fitting for that. There's too many divergences to get there. The neighborhood commercial, I did listen to some of the dialogue after we left last week, and I understood, or a couple weeks ago, but I understood the hesitation of neighborhood commercial. Most communities don't want straight zoning anymore. So I understand what regional planning is saying. It is acknowledged as a neighborhood commercial use in the NCD. You don't want to zone neighborhood commercial on, it was preserved mainly for Cheshire Road or areas where it's more neighborhood scale and it's not this, or you might see a change in use. The nice thing about the planned commercial, it's a planned district, he's bound to the development plans. The commitments we made in the text and the drawings and in the meeting here are all commitments that he's making to you, that this property isn't going to be marketed for a landscape business or something different. It's being used exactly as we said. So for that purpose, it doesn't really matter what district it's in. He can only do with it what's in the plan. So, yeah, but I think put another red square on the map doesn't change the character of Berlin Township, and I think it'll blend in with the overlay district, which is your bigger spirit and intent. If he had 30 acres, he could probably fit into that. We don't have 30 acres that were a part of a bigger district. So.
Thank you. I thought that's what I really appreciate that. And then one other sort of sub part, and I apologize if any of this is redundant. The NAICS code is can you quickly run through, I want to make sure the board is what all, when we talk about NAICS, that's sort of a categorical codifying system. I want to make sure we're all comfortable that we like all of the uses that we're suggesting, and that it gets you all of the uses that.
So I will say we used regional planning's advice because we understood at the last meeting that was probably most advisable. We didn't want to argue with their professional opinion. Any ICS code is a tax code. It's not intended to be used for zoning. We appreciate the fact that it is used, and I understand why. But the reality is the districts, we can do specific numbers here, but the divergence request, let's address that first. 811460, other personal and household goods and maintenance. That goods repair and maintenance is very inclusive. So we just put, it's limited to the indoor activity of for the repair of motorboats, canoes, sailboats, and other recreational boats. It would be foolish to offer a divergence and then say all of those household uses would be appropriate. That's not the case. We're specifically itemizing, again, you're only approving what he's asking for in that divergence request. The other two were for the retail component, and that's that 500 square foot. So the office is supportive of either of these uses, but the 500 square foot, again, we specifically limited that, and that was limited to the 500 square foot inside of the office building, and that's limited to retail of automotive and boat parts. So he's not selling other items outside of that. We wanted to pigeonhole those NCIX codes. So in NCI, if you look it up, the NAICS actually lists out a paragraph full of text. We're saying that we want a few words out of that paragraph. We don't want to open it up to the entire. I only put the codes on there for reference to say those two are specifically permitted and in a larger sense. And the one that we're pigeonholing in, I called it out because regional planning believed that was the code. I do think that code is industrial. I don't think what we're asking for in that code is an industrial use. We're limiting it, again, just to repair inside of the 6,000 square foot shop. Motorboats, canoes, sailboats, and other recreational boats. Thank you.
And I'm going to ask, because we had mentioned NICR 81146, so just want to make sure. Same thing.
I might have misspoke, but what's in our text is what I'd like to use.
Okay, just want to make sure.
And I'm marking these as exhibit 1. Right.
All right, so that's okay. Now we're 5 minutes to discuss conditions. All right, we got Hey guys, thank you. We can't talk.
If there are additional changes that you want to make, same conversation, only verbal. If you want a totally different motion, you say the word.
More than 80% of the total tax acreage, like 17. So more than 80% of the total. Exclusive amongst right, it's like.
I was.
Cement standards for each year.
You're looking at the seniors.
Is this?
So my memory's not 1,000%.
I the only one that hears.
Yes.
I think they need to listen to these things. And then just read
My principal structure accessory says, no principal structure should be located closer than 25 feet to another principal structure. 25 feet between this.
Where are you? I mean, what?
24, 3. That was the hardest part. You know, like one PCB, now, you know, it's like, if and when we go to PCB, then.
Well, worst case scenario, they need to purchase
So there's 24 foot. I think that's why that's office. 24.
I mean, it's right.
The building is 25 feet.
Yeah.
And then 10.
Yeah.
So pleasure. Well, and just the part, what's the purpose of that? That precision is usually right, fire. Actual radius. This provision usually is just more like half.
Well, but also, like, if you talk about setbacks to houses, it is, right? You can, like, side. That's really catches on fire. So far from the next building for prevent fires.
But they evaluated. More or less.
We would.
Even if it's not like a rationale. Is this? Screaming.
So we want to mix. That's
When we like it.
yeah. We wanted to.
So back in the day, we had a couple of big The developer said, I don't need screening because the attorney has all these trees. Well, the point was made, the person who owns that, all the other trees, he's still surviving.
That's what I said.
So, yeah, I think that we can just have a screening, maybe this person to tell us what we do.
Like for me, and that for my shop, I would not be wanting to maintain that little tiny green area in between the fence and that. So whether that's changing that to a quote unquote interface, the same screening all the way back that they have up front. Or do we, because that's just like tree, same thing.
I like tree.
Are you saying? Fences?
Yeah.
Often maybe the.
They do have trees on the
On the other side, or making it wide enough that. So.
Okay.
And this little green belt is making that a bed instead of a green strip of.
Hey, Kara, are we on
That's have to
audio?
be maintained too.
Are we on audio? Is it possible to mute it or? That's it.
Still live for recess.
Or recess? No.
Yeah, that's, you're technically still on. Just want to sort of recess to your own devices.
Are we not on audio? They have to be. Keep it on, oh, we did. Sure, so keep it on. Yeah, I'm gonna go back. I didn't look at this application, but
I mean, vets have to be maintained too, right? So.
But I would think instead of mowing that every week or trimming that every week, having a bed.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I just care that it's screened. I mean, whatever they want to do is on them.
It would be that that's what they're doing.
Well, I think we can say we would like a certain percentage of capacity or something like that.
We've had people do capacity, quantity of trees, type of trees, or like adequate screening, let people figure out what's like. So they enforce it on the enforcement end. It's a little bit,
I mean, technically, right now, it's a commercial use backed up or adjacent to a residential zone, correct? Because that's FR1. So then if we abide by the perimeter requirements, it would be a 10-foot minimum landscaping
They don't have-
adjacent to all common boundaries except tree frontage and 1 tree per 40 feet of lineal continuous. They do have the fence, 6 foot privacy fence. I mean, really, that's
Is that screening?
that is the screening.
Are we satisfied with that? I mean, that's the precedent we would be unhappy with. We just let them.
you want them to, do you want them to like explore options for vegetative screening in, I mean, and that's not gonna hold their feet to the fire, but just if you look at trustees to see what they can do. I mean,
Yeah.
because again, I don't know that anyone.
Our objective is we want some screening. So what that looks
So
like.
1 tree, I mean, then it would technically be 1 tree per 40 foot of lineal boundary.
1 tree and 40 feet.
A fraction thereof distances shall be rounded up. Trees do not have to be equally spaced or be grouped.
40 feet. It's really a long distance. Is that right? Yeah, I think, no.
But also keeping in mind the future growth of the.
Sure. And are we talking east side and west side or only the east side? It seemed to me we need screening on both sides.
If it's removed, only if.
Well, they said, we're chime in. On the west side, tree line is straddles. Is that correct?
Yeah,
it's on
so-
both sides.
So within the green space, there's still a lot. This overhang really comes over here. So there's probably, just from here to here, every bit of probably 10 to 15 trees through here that are ours. And then the trees surround the whole backside here. So,
So perhaps.
And there's nothing that's yours on the.
no, not on the east side. There was, but we had some really, really bad termite damage. A lot of trees along the backside of our property. So, which we actually treated all those and actually saved a lot of the trees back through here. But we lost a couple that were right in this area. So,
Okay, so we need some vegetative screening on the eastern side. And you want to dialogue about that, call it out, or that on the applicant for consideration for the next step.
Letting them.
which this is a lot of commercial activity over here.
I know.
So that's surrounding us right now. There's trucks coming and going all day long. So, I mean, honestly, for us, the screening with the fence and stuff back here in this area actually kind of helps us in a sense too, yeah. So,
Do you want to write it?
Okay, so what are we asking to do for, to evaluate, to commit to installing?
Shade screening on the eastern border.
along. We care if they're trees, bushes.
Pretty big grass.
Yeah, I know.
I think it-
I think we can,
It's a silly.
To install vegetative screening along eastern property.
So what we were saying is, if a butcher bird be in my shop, I would want to maintain that green strip.
here,
Yes.
Mhm.
That if you made it a bed and did some more of the juniper trees or some sort of screening there.
Okay.
well, let's come out of recess.
Is there anything, there was anything else, just for guys?
That was it.
Okay, out of recess.
All right, do we have everyone, was there anyone still on the parking lot? Okay, all right. So I would like to make a motion to, approve with modification. Let me back up. Motion by Angela Brown to recommend the Board of Township Trustees of Berlin Township, the approval with recommended modification of BZC 25-0. The development plan in which dated July 21st, 2025. Seeking to rezone the parcel from acre plan generally known as Starlight County parcel number 418-110-01-047-000 located at 6715 State Route 57. Ohio 021 from residential to planned commercial and office district, including any requested differences. On finding that the proposed development meets the criteria for approving a rezoning PCE set forth in section 17.08 of the Berlin Township Area Resolution and any additional modifications. These modifications are various changes reflected in submitted materials dated September 1st, 2025 and September 2nd, 2025. As a variance from section 24.03 to allow the structures to be oriented as permitted. And number 3 is to install vegetative screening along eastern property
Yes, yeah, we can commit to that.
absolutely.
line. I make a motion to approve. everything I just said.
Do we have a second?
A second?
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Shields,
Yes.
Mr. Davisworth,
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong,
No.
and Ms. Catley.
Yes. All right, your motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we just signatures.
So now what happens when you go inside?
So with the,
Well, just a motion. This gets sent to the trustees for them to set a hearing. My understanding is that right now they're receiving recommendations and at that meeting, picking a date to set it for the hearing.
You just usually sign.
Yeah. Oh, that's really fine. That's a little PSA, so that's- But they will receive the application. Maybe you know that, and so just go for it. So they'll receive it, you're welcome to come to the meeting after they receive it, but when they receive it, they're really just taking it in hand and saying, right, so hearing, the zoning inspection will keep you apprised of where everything is in the process, make sure notices go out as they're supposed to, trusting public opportunity to provide comment. We'll show.
And the next step is that we have to get the minutes from this meeting to attach to the presentations you guys just gave. So that's in 2 weeks. That's when we set the date for the hearings. Trustee. Yeah.
Has to be within. From the day our trustees receive it. So right now, we're in a little bit of a lull.
If your name is approachable, then they.
First.
Jeremy, say me. You can meet at 6 these days.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Jerry, you want to put this in the legal
So, our process, we have an application. So we also have before us BZC 19 Ross Estates application for modification of pre-development. This is filed by the Seniors Development, PO Box 278, Ohio 43035. Applicant is submitting a request to modify the approved zone 42.76 acres. Parcel numbers to the 3 1. Not going to read that.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. Because this is now, the zoning clerk reminded me, because this is now your regular meeting, do you usually make a more formal, your regular meeting? It's entirely up to you.
No, it's just move into the next year, but it's very unusual for us to do it. You know, so it's just-
Usually, I think we never have a session meeting before it's break.
Yeah.
So usually we just open your new meeting.
I just note for the record that regular meeting starting at 7:23 p.m. That's fair, you can note. Members present.
That's all we have anymore is the usual circumstances. What to do. So we're moving into our regular meeting. I'm sorry. I did it, I'm not going to read this through parcel numbers, because I will transpose them. Pike Road, Delaware. 5, it looks like we do have someone to represent the applicant here. So,
Rick Toll, Devon Farm Development, and I was actually there last, it indicated to me that there was procedural, should I say, some type of procedural error that we needed to correct, so I guess I don't like, although I'm sure you would much rather there with Dan for a couple, 3 hours, give or take, I just got to see if we could table this to the next meeting time, certain, September 23rd, to present this application.
So Madam Chair, I can elaborate a little bit. Please do a good job. So my understanding is that what the commission did last time was to table, which is table indefinitely. This application can't be heard again because it's been tabled as opposed to continue. Because of that conversation before. So what you're being asked to do today is bring it back onto your docket and set it for, the next part. So basically, we're just setting a date for this application, bringing off of tabling, bringing it to your active, schedule and setting a date and time and place for your application.
I have a question.
Please.
Do we have the documents, Gary, if we have, it has to be available to the public for a certain time period?
Yeah,
Prior to
last Friday, we received from the applicant, Greg, an electronic copy of that. And he asked me how many hard copies I needed. And I said, hold off until we have this meeting, so I know whether, and also if there was any other minor changes that Rick might be doing this portion. It's not official as a hearing. And I can get tomorrow the hard copies and distribute those so we have 2 weeks to review those.
Oh, we need that.
Well, and see, we were getting stuff 2 or 3 days ahead of time, that was not enough time for you guys to look at. And I understand from the last meeting, Neil Terrace said, section C isn't section C, there's densities, there's some other things that were mentioned that were inconsistent. So I did pass that along to Ross, that there were those inconsistencies. This gentleman, Greg, went back and said he corrected them all. So he gave me an electronic copy, which I have on my computer, but I haven't asked for the hard copies, and he said he could give them whenever we needed them. Once we set the meeting, I want to make sure we have 2 weeks to do that.
And my question for you, Jerry, was, did that give you just 2 weeks, which is a possible date? Obviously, it's entirely up to the commission when you have this. Is that enough time to get the mail and then to publish?
Yes.
Is that
That's
enough
10
time?
days to publishing is what we've been told to get it that published out. It'll be done by the end of this week, which is 10 days. And Friday would be the meeting. We have nothing on the agenda for the meeting of the 23rd. So that's 2 weeks from today is what I was proposing. That's up to you guys to do that, but it's available.
So as long as, what you're saying is as long as the newspaper has the notice, right?
And yet, not the newspaper, we put on Facebook and
Okay, we don't do the newspaper anymore. Great. Not that I'm against the newspaper, they're just the ones that take the longest.
we put it on, we put it on the website, we put it on Facebook. And it's been accepted. Now, by Lisa, I think, paid for a copy of what was on Facebook on the, for the previous meeting. So I will get that.
So why?
Yeah,
So we could pick up the materials this week.
yes, I will have it no later than Friday, what is today's Tuesday?
All right.
And
We good thing.
Youth and years.
I'm
I'm not, I mean,
So no Tara.
but I have to recuse myself.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Jenny, hopefully will make it, everybody else. I know you're iffy, but okay.
Should we, you tell me, do we need to communicate with Jenny and then you another option? Keith, should we contact them to see if they're?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. But yeah, I think there's nothing else on the agenda and our 10-day notices can be met. And we have materials ready for distribution. I think that would be, yeah, perfect. Do we need a motion for that? I believe we do, right? Anyone need a motion?
I could make a motion to table BCC 19-017 to table and continue.
I would say motion to set case for a public hearing on days like this. Please.
So make a motion to set a hearing for BZC 19007 for date September 23rd, 2025, time 7 p.m. At the Township.
Thank you very much.
I will second that. Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Ms. Catherine?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Ms. Brown? Yes. Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to your-
You too. You look very nice in that color.
Oh, thank you. Don't say that. I thought I was gonna say that.
Be nice, you know.
He's in Bozeman, Montana. And I thought I think he gets us fun.
Okay.
Maybe he'll bring us all some help.
Hitting the score out.
Anything with them?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
So, Ben, thank you. Save our bacon. Is there any business from our zoning inspector?
Well, Megan put out some information that you all have in your emails if you haven't read it. Yeah, the opportunity about the meeting last night and what transpired. Part of it, with Ms. Farms. And the other part that I know is that they went to executive session last night, and they have 3 candidates for the 3rd trustee to replace Ken for the remainder of the year. A lot more about that since it was an executive session. And they're reposting the zoning commission, the zoning director, thank you. There's so many zoning things going on, but yeah, the director position, they're reposting that. And then they're also adding to the zoning support team, because I did a lot of things, and not that I can, and they're talking about economic development planning and some other topics that I've been involved in. This, you've got a consulting firm, Loveland, or the name of the company was in that note that you guys had, that they were very excited about that. To get them back involved in doing some things for the future planning for the township. And I hope that I get a chance to look at the resolution that Levi did about 4 months ago, and it's still in the back there. It's been rewritten, just seeing what those changes were. It just hasn't had an opportunity.
Okay. Wrong person.
Yeah. See, Jerry, would it take a load off you to send it out to us, or does that make it worse?
I would do that, but I don't wanna throw something out there that I could be, I'm here, I'm supposed to read this stuff before I put it out. I can do that if you guys don't mind.
What do we think?
It's an electronic copy from Scott Sanders to Levi of changes that Levi had made with you guys help. And read along the way you
I believe I did something.
do what?
We had so many pieces of this process.
I
We
believe
have
I
to,
did some.
I just don't, we got the
Well,
latest.
this came from Scott.
It came right before Levi left.
Yes, yeah.
I don't think we have some.
Yeah.
Do you
I'll
think
send
you'd
it.
like to have?
No. I'll
I
get
mean,
you
that's
back.
just
I
little.
can,
Yeah.
I can, piece of stuff.
Yeah.
No, don't hurt.
Is this regional planning, did you initiate a zoning text amendment and regional planning making the recommendation?
Levi sent to Scott changes because Scott is the one that has the hard copy, has the electronic copy of our resolution. We don't have it.
So he's just administratively incorporating already adopted.
No,
They're not adopted, they're.
Their suggestions to our current resolution from June 23rd of 24, it was out there. And since that point in time, Levi has been tasked with making some changes, mainly because of one step. There's some ambiguity, I love this. The ambiguities that are between that and comprehensive land use plan, those were, from the trustee standpoint, wanted to make sure that it was clear. Landscaping was one of the topics, and there were a couple of other areas where how the meetings were held, that Levi made changes to the text, sent them to Scott Sanders, and Scott Sanders and Brad Fisher gave feedback on it, and that's where it's at right there. For the zoning commission to say, yeah, that's what we want, then we would get a draft copy for this unit to recommend amendments.
Okay, my face that I don't know if I've it's just that we need to talk about exactly, we're not, the whole table full of stuff. What I'm trying to make sure is that you don't have amendments, you know, when you're doing a text amendment, you follow the same process of the new rezoning. You'll only have certain time periods for doing some of the stuff. I don't think that's what's happening, but if I'm hearing that regional planning is making recommendations, if that's what it is.
Regional planning is
All
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry to get until we get a copy from Scott, it isn't considered a draft. It is what we would propose, or the zoning commission would propose that we invest in.
Has not been initiated.
No.
Right.
It was requested by the trustees to make some changes. When I was working. Yes, and then the trustees said, here's some specific areas we would like to address now.
Informal, all informal. Great. Carry on.
As they sort of had.
There's been months and months of back and forth. It's not.
As long as we say the word, as long as I understand it, we keep it off that.
Jill, I'll age a little bit, like a year ago. Mary put together a nice drawing of the landscape and where, and how to blend in and do these things. And that was going to be one of the adopted changes, attack the whole thing. And there's been discussion about Concord and how there was, everybody needs a lawyer to interpret it, and this was simplified. This came in, Levi and I hit. And then revisions to do after we got the last one approved in June.
Appreciate it.
All right,
So if the commission wants to review.
I'm not take something off your plate, we're gonna get a look at it anyway,
So
so.
get it to.
Yeah.
Oh, no. State of Ohio's network is no longer on.
Oh, how's that going? Good, okay.
It is challenging because all my IDs and passwords are changing. They couldn't use J Valentine because they've got one already in the state. So I'm JA Valentine now, and all the passwords I used are gone. But the good thing is I only have to change them every 90 days. 90 days is a good time.
Any business from commission members? Okay. So our next meeting is scheduled for the 23rd, 7 p.m. We will hear Ross at the time certain. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
October 14th, I will not be here because I will be on the 8th grade DC trip. So that's gonna be
It sure is.
We have nothing on the agenda yet.
okay, yeah.
We'll try to make it light, but.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there now.
Okay.
Well, if Jerry or I contact Jimmy and Keith.
Yeah, October 14th.
Jen, since you're here, when we have alternates, if people will change like Tara's not gonna be here in 2 weeks, and we'll probably, Jen will be here, I think. And Ray's questionable. I haven't heard from Keith in a while.
No.
How do we, I mean, 4 is never good. It's a 2-2 vote, so I like having 5. Are there rules that who can and can't sit of the 2 alternates? Because most of the time, they are truly getting the minutes, and they're getting any of the applications that come in, they get copies of it, so they know what's there. They could sit in on the meeting if, like Jenny could sit in on the 23rd, because she'll get her stuff tomorrow on the run.
They're all able to serve in the event of a vacancy, with the only asterisk being some townships have in their rules, there's a commission rules procedure. Who's, like, if it's seniority, the alternate for the longest tenure gets to sit first. Or they switch it up, it just depends. You don't have to address that, whoever's available and willing is empowered and equipped to attend.
I think the problem I had before was that there were 5 sitting here, and one of those 5 didn't show up, and nobody else could sit in because that other one would hurt the initial meetings.
The question was, where there, can someone, a different person sit in on a second meeting, even if they aren't the original alternate or the member?
Yes.
And they switch off. That was a big question that we were having.
Appreciate that. Yeah, my answer, legal answer is yes.
Okay.
In law or code or offense, as long as they, can bring themselves up to speed in advance. Or during,
So the only more you adjourned, you shut it off.
We did.
He made a motion, it didn't get seconded or
Is that Jen is to be attending the BZC meetings from now on until I learn what I'm doing.